Hey, and welcome to another episode of the Who Dat Jedi podcast. This is episode 166 for your scorecards, and a little special episode here tonight because I would say with me as always is Dave and Fredo. So hi guys, how are you?
Hello.
Hello.
And we have a special guest with us here tonight, a friend of mine, fellow member of the 501st. You're still at 501st, right, Stephen?
Yes, sir.
Cool. And so we'll talk to you a little bit about that as well. But Stephen is here to talk to us about the Galactic Starcruiser. And notice that I didn't call it Star Wars Prison. That's the last time you'll hear me say that. It's the Galactic Starcruiser. He went on a voyage in June. And since I have been, like I said, in the nicest terms, the most skeptical person of the Galactic Starcruiser, hearing Steven's experience was really kind of cool, and so I think it's a nice to have the facts to go against the BS that I throw out on this every now and again. So Steven, thank you for joining us.
Happy to be here.
So I guess but first, as always, to get our brains wrapped around Star Wars. I mean, we could talk a little bit about the Saints, but that was kind of a fun preseason game. But it is preseason, so we won't talk about it. Not too many people got hurt, so that's good. But let's get into some trivia here. And Stephen, by the way, this is from the Trivial Pursuit DVD Star Wars Saga Edition. Do you have that game by chance?
Well, wouldn't you know it? No, I don't.
Wow, okay. So these are episodes 1 through 6. So none of the sequels, none of the animated stuff. This is just for, this isn't for the hardcore. It's just for the medium core, I suppose. So everybody gets one question. And the rule is whichever one I look at first is what I ask. Could be a softball, could be how many, what was it last week? How many claws did the Acklay have? So anyway,
4.
So we'll start with Dave. All right, Dave, what villain says, that narrows it down. What villain says, quote, "At least we have the mighty Chewbacca"? I even used the right cadence there. At last we have the mighty Chewbacca.
Oh, at last. That's Jabba.
Last name, please.
Jabba the Hutt?
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah. Like I said, that was funny. I used the right cadence and everything. Gave it away. All right. It was Jabba the Hutt. Fredo. All right. What leader clicks the warning, "If they find out what we are planning to build, we're doomed"? Oh, man. I got to think about that one.
No, that is Poggle the Lesser.
Man, good job. Yes, it is Poggle the Lesser.
For
Yeah.
for some reason, my wires was getting crossed between him and Plo Koon because I knew it started with a P. So
All right. Steven, to you, my friend. What does R2D2 accidentally plug into while looking for a computer terminal in Cloud City?
Doesn't he plug into like a power socket?
That's exactly what it is, a power socket. All right, and to me...
Oh, good. I'm glad I got that one because I'm like, who the heck is Poggle the Lesser? I don't recognize that name. I was like, man.
Yeah, sometimes it's like, what's the name of the third Star Destroyer that was in the background of, a 2-second scene in Empire Strikes Back? All right, to me, who informs Qui-Gon Jinn that Queen Amidala is curious about Tatooine? That would be Captain Panaka. Ta-da! Hey, we're all winners today, guys.
2 weeks in a row, we get a Captain Paneka question. Interesting.
That is weird, right?
Yeah, didn't realize he's left such a mark on the Trivial Pursuit game.
Loaded.
Critical character. Critical.
Yeah. So critical that we keep calling him Tanaka or yeah. All right, cool. Well, let's get to our friend here, Stephen. First of all, before we talk about the Star Cruiser, like I said, Stephen and I met in the 501st. Oh, wait a minute. sorry, we'll get to that in a second. Dave, you went someplace fun this weekend.
Yeah, I wasn't Galactic Starcruiser, but
Yeah, not quite.
we went to MightyCon over the weekend, and the 501st was represented there. And that's a local con here in New Orleans, and it was kind of a makeup because we couldn't make it out to Azalea City Con, which we all, if you listen to this podcast, you might have heard about a few weeks back. We couldn't make it out to that. Traffic and running to the bulls conflicted. So we promised our oldest that she would get an opportunity to cosplay. And we said, this is the next one on the calendar, it looks like. So we went over to the Pontchartrain Center out in Kenner and got our con on over the weekend. And it was a good value, I will say, because kids got in free. I wanted to point that out to any families that might be listening out there.
Do they do that on the Galactic Starcruiser, Steven? Do kids get in free?
Well, only if you pay $1,500 extra. Then yeah, they get in free.
or if you're pregnant with said child, then yeah, maybe.
That's only $750.
So Dave, actually, you some people kind of remembered you and Kate, right?
Yeah, well, like, oh man, there were a few different stories. One is we ran into the droid builders and talked to them, and they said that, like, at one point they thought that they had talked to a member of our crew. So I furiously texted you guys to see if you'd been out there, and no, you had not. So I wonder if there's like a rival Star Wars podcast that we need to figure out if they're out there somewhere, trying to horn in on our turf here in New Orleans. I don't know, but so that was kind of a funny story. Yes. The 501st did not recognize Aaron's name when I name dropped him.
Well, yeah,
I
mean,
sorely disappointed.
I did look, and that, by the way, was not just New Orleans, folks, but it was Mississippi and some other places. And I honestly don't troop all that often, so it's not surprising that they didn't know my name. So.
But, yeah, there were some fun clubs there and some fun groups, and my daughter placed, I think, 7th in the costuming contest.
What'd she cosplay as?
It was an anime character. It was Toga from
My Hero Academia?
My Hero Academia. That's one of her favorites. So she was that, and that went well. The funny thing, though, and I wanted to share this story. Kate interacted. We saw a She-Hulk there. And Kate started talking to her. I was like, "Oh my gosh, your costume's amazing! It's so great."
Oh, you're talking about a cosplayer, not the actress who played She-Hulk,
right?
Okay.
Though I will say, Jeff Anderson and oh my God, our other guy Dante from
Brian
Clerks
O'Halloran.
were there. Brian O'Halloran were there. We got to talk to them briefly, so that was kind of cool. But yeah, so she was talking to this person dressed up as She-Hulk and struck up a bit of a friendship. And wouldn't you know it, some dude walks over and immediately just starts talking about why he doesn't like the show or why he didn't like the show. It was, and
he started mansplaining all over the place. Okay.
Immediately started mansplaining to someone dressed up as She-Hulk why he doesn't like the series. And again, it just the total cliche moment of it, we were just dying laughing after that guy sashayed off. It was ridiculous, but we had a good time. It was a good time. It's not a huge con, but they do a pretty good job there. So
now,
I would recommend it.
Steven, when did you join the 501st?
2013. So I just made 10 years.
Right on. And I know you. I've seen you. Are you just Royal Guard, or do you have other?
So my wife and I both have Royal Guards, because they have to go. They have to come in pairs. It's actually a funny story. So I've been with my wife for forever, and long ago we had a conversation of, you don't have to accept my level of nerd, but you just have to tolerate it. So she was a Star Trek fan, I was a Star Wars fan. So clearly, I was the superior fandom, obviously. So she made a deal. We made a deal with each other. We said, okay, listen, if you join the 501st with me, because Royal Guards should always be in pairs, I will join the local Starfleet chapter. Is that all right? Deal. So we get her costume together. We submit it. She gets approved. Said, okay, great. Now it's my end of the bargain. We go to one Starfleet meeting, and she got so grossed out and creeped out by all of the other members. She's like, I don't ever want to go back. So I got the better end of that deal. Go me.
So was it the like stereotypical Big Bang Theory? Penny walks into the comic book store. Is that what?
Kind of. Kind of. I think that's a good way of saying it. Yeah, she just was not digging the vibe, so she's like, yeah, okay, maybe not.
I will
So,
say with the 501st, I mean, I was in the Central Garrison, obviously in Nebraska, and then, the Bast Alpha Garrison here. Um, and it's always been, I've never felt it to be a chauvinistic experience at all. It seems like a fairly tight community. Maybe that's
for the
naive to say. I don't know, but
for the most part, that's a pretty accurate statement. Um, I do think that the organization does tend to lean more towards male participants, but I think that is just the nature of organized science fiction fandom. I will say that the Legions are doing an awesome job of bringing inclusivity. They're including more females. They're including uh, people of different ethnic origins, different races, different cultures. So, I mean, the club is international, which I think is awesome.
yeah. And are you in the Rebel Legion as well?
So I am an off again, on again member with the Rebel Legion. Every now and again, I will pull out my Wilro hood.
Ah, yeah, okay. Wilro Hood, right on. Which now Wilro Hood has been kind of they have competition at the cons with all of the Andor one way out
They
prisoners.
do. They have a running of the hood and they have a running of the prisoners. So the Wilro hoods are shouting "Save the ice cream." The prisoners from Narkina 5 are shouting "One way out." And it's actually funny that you bring that up because I saw footage of one Starcruiser cruise where a group of like 20 people planned this in advance. They all brought and wore their Narkina 5 costumes.
No,
So they're,
seriously?
yes, so they are running through the
Oh yeah.
cruise ship chanting "One way out, one way out, one way out." There's videos of it and it's hysterical.
So it was like Star Wars prison. Uh, uh,
Said it again.
so, all right. So that's enough of me saying that. All right. So that leads us into, and like I said, I'm just going to let you go. And I just want to kind of hear you without, I'm the one who tends to interrupt. So I'm going to make sure I don't ask questions until you get to the end. Walk us through the beginning of your Star Cruiser voyage to the end of it.
Well, it all started back in May when I graduated from my master's program. And I told my wife, hey, surprise me with something. She picked the Star Cruiser. She couldn't bring herself to make the phone call because it was so much money. So I ended up planning my own surprise. It's funny how that happens. Um, Okay, so fast forward to June, and it's time to go. We're excited. We're driving to the terminal. Um, I'm gonna refer to it as a cruise. It is a hotel. It is a concrete bunker in the employee parking lot at MGM Studios. It's what it is. There's no getting around it. However, to call it just a Star Wars hotel is to vastly undersell what it is. It's one of those experiences where you have to do it to really appreciate the feelings, the emotions, the sentiments behind it. Um, I never get Disney's letdown after leaving Disney World, but when I stepped foot off of the cruise ship, I was in withdrawal because I genuinely felt I was part of a Star Wars story for 2 days. It is just that powerful. I went into it, I don't want to say blind, but I went into it not knowing a lot.
So you had not watched any or not a lot of any of the media coverage on YouTube from the influencers and stuff like that.
When it first opened a year ago, I think I did watch maybe like 30 minutes of somebody's cruise, but then it had been a year and I didn't remember anything.
Can I ask too, like briefly, because of the
Yeah.
emotional side of this, it reminded me, like when you were just describing what you were describing, it reminded me a little bit of the lightsaber building, which was something that I've been through. I'm curious, have you been through that, and was it semi reminiscent?
So I have, and like Aaron has been smack talking the Starcruiser, I had been smack talking the lightsaber building. I'm assuming you're talking about Savi's in Batu.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, so I did it, and it it's it's that suspension of disbelief that you don't even realize that you're suspending. Like you're just in the moment when you hold up your lightsaber for the first time. Like, did you feel like giddy? Like, oh my god, I did this. This is exciting. Holy crap. Crud, holy crud. That this is real.
Crap is fine. Anything beyond that, then we have to edit out with Greedo saying McClunky, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty wizard.
So yeah, no. So like what you're saying then on your end, that was maybe too fleeting, and like Star Cruiser took it to a whole different level.
That's a very good way of saying it. That's a very, very good way of saying it. So yeah, like expand that little brief 15-minute experience and expand that over the course of 2 days, and you get the Star Cruiser. What made it special and what made it have that impact was there were a couple things. One were the actors that were in character. They made it a point to remember each cruiser, and they roped them into the story. They roped them in like to the level that they were comfortable with. Like they extended feelers, they extended offers, and then they remembered you throughout both days. And they worked together as a team to ensure that everybody was part of the story. So, and to give everybody a unique story and a unique experience. That's my dog Gumbo. Hi Gumbo, playing with his sister Rue. You can hear him growling in the box.
It's all right. We like dogs on this podcast.
Oh, good, because I also love my dogs. One of them was just trying to eat my hand. Now he's getting belly rubs. Okay, so where were I? So yeah, so the characters, the cast members that were in character were incredible. Second thing that made it unique, and made it special were the non-character cast members. Like, it was essentially a concierge. They remembered everybody. They went above and beyond. The like, you expect a certain level of like that's what I'm looking for, like hospitality, a certain level of service when you go to Disney or to the Disney parks. Well, they take that expectation and then they multiply it by 1,000,
So
if not
these
a million.
so these people were like, I mean, sorry, this is going to sound bad, but
Yeah.
typical Disney cast members.
Yes. So
Or
they were like your customer service
right. Okay.
members. They called them the cruise relation team, and they had very distinctive blue jackets. So they sometimes got called the Blue Jackets.
Did you ever
But
want to call them Julie or Gopher?
no,
Sorry,
I
okay.
never wanted to call them Julie or Gopher. No, I wanted to call them, you are my friend. Here is my phone number. You call me if there's an opening on the next cruise. That's what I really wanted to tell them. That's what I really wanted to call them. But yeah, like they went above and beyond. And when they could, they like made miracles happen. I saw them make a couple miracles happen, and it was just absolutely incredible. And then the third thing that really made the experience unique was that because the ship, because the cruise is so exclusive, because it's so expensive, because the supply is so limited, everybody that's there is there because they love Star Wars, or they love, damn it, dogs, or they love somebody who really loves Star Wars. So we were there for a shared interest. Everybody there was for Star Wars, and you could talk to anybody about anything, and they were all super cool. Like, I made friends on this cruise that I still kind of keep in touch with. Um, I learned his name is Beatus, and I asked him about it, and he's like, "Okay, so my kids started calling me Darth Diabetes because I just got diagnosed with type 2 diabetes.
Oh no.
And so we just shortened it to Beatus for this cruise. So the cast members were calling him Beatus. He introduced himself as Beatus. So I'm like, okay, sure. And so I taught him how to play sabacc. There was a sabacc tournament. That was a lot of fun. So again, it was those combinations that just transcended, that made the story, that made the trip transcend from just a hotel stay to an experience.
So
that is really what made it.
So kind of walk through. You said you pulled up, and we've talked about how it's it's valet parking because the parking is cast lot whatever.
Yeah.
But so talk to us about when you first walk in the door, and just kind of walk us through maybe that first day itinerary.
Sure. So I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna tell you a little later. Like, you're gonna hear me say a lot of good things about the Star Cruise. You're gonna hear me say a couple things, that could be negative about the experience. Nothing is perfect. So your check-in, your initial getting to the airport, the spaceport, whatever they want to call it, is a little less than glamorous because of where the port is located. It's very, what's the word I'm looking for? It kind of breaks the illusion a little bit, because to get to the launch pod, you have to take a back road that has one little sign that says Star Wars Starcruiser with an arrow pointing, and it takes you the back way to the employee parking lot, which is behind Batu at the Disney Studios. To make sure that you don't get lost, they have a big sign that's painted on a cargo crate, like a big shipping container that you see on the boats. So again, you're paying a lot of money, and this is what you get greeted with. Yeah, you follow the road. You first stop at a security deck. Like when you check into your hotel, on property hotel, there's a security desk right there. They confirm that you have a reservation, that you're on the booking. They check in on their tablet, and that tells the concierge people that are waiting for you when you drive through um, what's the word I'm looking for? Turnstiles, I guess. The gates that swing up and you can drive through. So you drive through two of those. You arrive at the spaceport, and that is really when the experience begins. You are greeted by a valet. They take all of your belongings that you want to find their way up to your cabin. You can carry one or two things with you if you want, but otherwise it meets you up in your cabin. They're there waiting with bottles of water and frozen grapes because you're standing out in the heat, waiting to go through security, waiting to get on your launch pod to go up. But that was very nice, and they were frequently handing out water bottles. Like if you wanted one, they gave it to you. It was just a constant offering. It was always available. So while you're waiting to go through your security and bag check, they go through like a little primer speech about like what to expect, like how to really get the most out of it. And that stuff like, just remember, you're here for fun. You love Star Wars. If you see a group of people go and do something, go tag along. If you see characters over there, go talk to them. Like really get into it and really, really have fun. Like it's okay to play. It's okay to role play. It's okay to get in on it.
And were you guys? I'm sorry. Were you guys totally in character and cosplaying and stuff like that?
So we were not in character, but we were bound in. We did have Star Wars inspired clothing, but we did not have any character.
Okay.
I mean, we have character. We're who we are, but we did not have any set characters that we were role playing as. I did kind of create one as it went on, because I brought with me a life-size BB-1. I called him BB-12. His name is Ducky because I painted him with a green head and orange feet like a mallard duck. Everybody loved him. So and they asked me, "Oh, did you build him? Oh, how did you find the parts, etc., etc., etc." So I created the characters kind of on the fly. I'm a droid mechanic. I'm a droid builder. I'm from Dagobah, so it's very hard to scrounge together the parts. It took a long time.
Had to date a Jawa to get them. Sorry.
That's right. So as it went on, that was my story, and I just kind of loosely ran with it. But there were people that were in full costume.
Oop, he froze up. White officer, something.
Since he froze up briefly, I will interject and just say that this is mostly academic, this discussion, because I think all the slots are sold out until it closes. It's scheduled to close at the end of September. Right now, I'm reading a news article that says that everything is sold out, but that a few slots mysteriously opened up this week and then quickly were filled again. So there might be some potential if somebody were so inclined, like I want to go before it closes.
Keep an eye on it because somebody might get a seat.
Keep your eyes open and stalk it because there might be something opening up. But I think for the most part, like I said, this is academic, but most of those slots are filled up.
We got you back, Steven?
Oh, freaking. I'm blaming the weather causing connectivity issues.
And New Orleans infrastructure, absolutely.
Yeah, it's more so that. So what was I saying? So there were people like in full costume. Somebody was dressed up as Director Krennic. He was in full uniform all weekend. And so the captain of the Halcyon and the other cruise directors were saying, like when we have, retired officers on board. So they really like incorporated that into like their story. Somebody brought a backpack droid, and he pressed the button, and the head of his droid popped up out of his backpack and looked around, and that was really cool. So you check in, you watch the safety spiel. It's a pre-recorded video, just going over ground rules, like what to do if there's an actual real-life emergency. They warn you that at some point during the story, like emergency lights are gonna flash, and that it's part of the story, and then you have to go to your assigned muster station. And then after that, you get in the launch pod, which is an elevator that takes you up 3 floors, and you are in. You step foot onto the Halcyon lobby. I will say the launch pod elevator. Have y'all ever been to Disney Quest way back in the day?
Yeah.
Downtown Disney. Do y'all remember taking the elevator up, and then there was that short like in-flight movie, like on the window in front of you, vaguely?
Vaguely, but
Kind of like that, but more intense. So they had 2 sets of windows that were grayed out, and then as the elevator went up, they got transparent. Cool effect. And you watch the video of you making the light speed jump straight up into space, and then it shows you being caught by like a droid, and then it guides your pod onto the Halcyon. So it was an elevator, but it was also a show, and that was very cool. So you step into the Halcyon, and it is just incredible.
that's what I was gonna ask.
Like,
First reaction when you saw it.
It took your breath away. Like the second I stepped foot off of that shuttle pod, I was like, okay, I am in Star Wars. Like I had goosebumps. It was gorgeous. It was beautiful. Like the cast members are there waiting to show you to your cabin, but they know to give you like a minute or two just to soak it all in, because it is truly gorgeous in person. They bring you to your cabin. They kind of walk you around a little bit to show you where everything is. They walk you to your cabin, let you get settled. A little later on, they'll bring you your luggage. They just leave it. They bring it to your cabin. Everyone's seen pictures of the cabins. The bunk beds are actually very comfortable. I'm a tall and big dude. I fit very comfortably in them. Each room has a window out into space. It's a very, very cool illusion. And what's neat is that when there are things happening on the bridge, like there's one training mission that you go do and you have to shoot asteroids. Well, you can see all the debris from the asteroids flying past your window, and it's all synced up. So that was very, very neat.
And there's a panic room, right?
So there is a panic room. There is a panic room built into each and every cabin. And a lot of people use it to store their luggage, because the cabin is, I mean, it can be a little tight, especially if you have like 4 people in there. It's really tight. But the panic room is for like in a real life emergency, you physically cannot get out of the building. They built in a little like hatch in the room for you to like get in there and wait, call 911 and wait for somebody to come and save you. It's hidden behind a panel though, so you really can't see it. We change, we get dressed, we go do shopping. That was the first thing we did, because I know that stuff sells out. Everything that's in the gift store is in universe. So there's no merchandise that says Star Wars. That all says Chandrilla Starline. It's all in universe, which I thought was very, very cool, because they're not breaking the illusion. So we mingle around. After that, we go explore. Also, come to find out, I realized this after the fact, there are hidden, secret Halcyon pins that the crew keeps hidden away in a special hidden compartment, and you have to convince them that you're not with the First Order and that you're with the Resistance, and you really got to persuade them. And they like close the shop door, pull out a special key, and it's hidden in this little tiny spare compartment underneath the jewelry that's so inconspicuous you would never have seen it. And I'm like, that's freaking cool. I wish I had known about that before, because they were special edition pins. I'm like, well, this is hella cool. I wish I had known about this. All of the cast members.
How much? I was going to ask briefly. How much merchandise did you buy? Because with the thing closing down here shortly,
Yes.
I'm guessing there was probably some incentive to be like, I got to get it now.
So yes, I went in talking a very big game, saying I'm going to buy literally everything. In reality, I think we only left with only about $500 worth of stuff. Only. And of that 500, like 125 of that, I was getting a remote control droid for somebody else. However, I did, and my wife too, we did get the things we were after. They have these the Sabak chipset that sells out all the damn time. So when I saw them on the shelves, I'm like, I'm buying that right now before it sells out. And also, while we were there, they must have just released it while we were on that cruise. They have the Droid Factory, like 3-inch or 6-inch, I don't know, action figures of the figures of the droid that's in your cabin, and of the R series astromech that roams around the ship. But they had just released the in-room droid, which is also something cool. I'm going off on all of these tangents. That's just how cool and how exciting the trip is that there's just so much to talk about that I really could talk about this for hours. But I know y'all don't have hours to listen to me ramble about it, so I'm trying to pick out the highlights. But needless to say, I ended up picking up one of those little small figures for myself and to mail off to somebody else, because I just happened to be looking at my phone at the right time.
I mean, talk about that droid a little bit, because it's kind of like it's on a screen, right? And it's kind of like your concierge droid or something like that, but they kind of lead you down the, are you with the First Order or Resistance? They kind of help you make that choice, don't they?
So yes and no. They do react to what you choose. So it's based on Amazon Alexa technology,
right?
Where you talk to it, it talks back to you. It uses AI to communicate with you, and it's pretty responsive, and that's actually pretty good. So it's her name is like D3ZO or something like that. So she will ask you what did you do during the day? And did you happen to lose this item? We found this pack of Dianoga eggs. Is it yours? We can't figure out who it belongs to. So silly things like that. Every night though, she'll tell you a bedtime story. And the bedtime stories were pretty funny. So basically it was a retelling of A New Hope, but from the perspective of R2-D2 as being the main hero.
Cool.
That was really funny. And then on the second night, she did Empire, and that was also very fun. But the stormtroopers, at one point, the stormtroopers actually hijacked the communication between the two of us, and then they started interrogating me through the view screen. So that was a neat little twist. But it was just very, very cool. It was very, very neat. So she's a part of your journey too. It's really cool.
So how long do you have to? Because you said you went shopping, you had time to kick around the room and stuff like that. How long did you have before everybody had to congregate and the stories started kicking in?
So it was about an hour to an hour and a half because they wait until everybody is checked in, has gotten settled in their rooms, and then the characters start making their way out and talking with people and introducing themselves, and that's really when the story starts to take off. They wait till everybody's on board. um so there's the cruise director, there's the captain of the halcyon, there's a chief engineer who shows up, Gaia's manager, the intergalactic superstar Gaia, her manager shows up during the muster, um, and then things happen throughout. Lieutenant Croy, who's the first order officer, he shows up during muster. But during that first hour or so, when you're just getting used to the ship, they're offering like tours of everything. They show you where like lightsaber training's gonna be, where the mess hall is, the cargo room, the brig, the engineering room, the what you call it, the bridge. So like they take you on a tour and they show you where everything is. And about like an hour in, the characters start coming up, and that is where I got to meet the life-sized, I am pretty sure fully autonomous SK droid. And he's like 5 feet tall. He's a big boy. And I was looking for a controller, like a plainclothes cast member driving him, but I didn't see anybody. And I rode in an elevator with just him, so I'm pretty damn sure he was fully autonomous.
Wow.
So like he got to meet my BB unit, and he just like erupted in excitement. You know, the R2 whistle, he just kept doing that nonstop and like spinning his head dome because he was so excited to meet this other droid.
So okay, so I am gonna jump in and ask a question here. Does
Yeah.
When you think back or that, and maybe in the moment, does any of that? I mean, cool as hell, 100%. But does any part of it? I mean, if there's not if the droid is in the elevator with you and doing all these things, that means Big Brother is watching the whole time.
Oh yeah.
It's Disney World. Big Brother is always watching.
Fair.
You wear a freaking magic band. What do you think that is?
That's true. Okay, so fair. Now I do want to. I'm going to divert you here because when you invited us over, I think it's fair to say the thing that blew your mind the most was the food on this place.
The food was not some of. The food was the best food I've ever had on Disney property. Um, it it was weird but familiar. So it was just weird enough that it looked different and it looked like it came from space, but it was familiar. So that it wasn't some crazy shenanigan bullshit from way the hell out of here.
Yeah, I mean it's like because you made the meal for us, and like the thing that was that the only thing that made me like pause was the blue shrimp.
Yes,
That just tasted like shrimp. It tasted like shrimp cocktail, but the fact that it was blue was the thing that messes with your mind.
yes. So come to find out after the fact, that is one of their more infamous dishes. Is the fact that this earth shrimp is this dark blue color. I'm like, what is this? It's blue. Shrimp aren't blue. But yeah, the shrimp on Felucia are. That was night 2, where they did the taste around the galaxy, where they had a Mustafarian cheese dip with different sorts of bread. And then the blue shrimp, they did a braised, what did I say? It was a bantha short rib.
Yeah.
And then the dessert I made for y'all was different. The dessert was like a chocolate cake in the shape of the Chandrilla logo. All of the photos of the food are available online, and it was all delicious. Now, I have a food allergy. I can't eat tomatoes. So they went out of their way to make the dishes without tomatoes. And when they couldn't, they substituted it with something else. Um, so they really did a great job with that. They had specialty cocktails, and they were all delicious. Um, they have the option to upgrade your dining to the captain's table, which is a table in the center of the room, a prime view of the stage. You get about 5 to 10 minutes of one-to-one uninterrupted interaction with the captain, and you get unique courses as well. And when you finish, you get that big honking captain's medallion that goes for like $200 on eBay because they're so hard to get. And I'm disappointed I didn't get it, but that stuff was sold out. Couldn't get a seat at the captain's table.
So maybe because you're right. I mean, I think we could probably do like 3 episodes of this. So maybe we can start asking some of our questions. The one thing I have a question about is because I am one of those like introverted extroverts, I suppose.
Sure.
It's like I'm all in for playing, but then there's a time where it's like, shut up and just tell me where the bathroom is. It's like, did you ever get to that point where it was like, or did you see anybody get to that point where it's like, I'm done playing. Can you just give me a straight non-Star Wars answer?
So no, because I remember reading this in an article way back when it first started. They know that not everybody is going to be all in Star Wars all the time. So they extend the invitation. And if you want to come join in, great. If you want to be involved in Star Wars 24/7, great. But if you want to like take a step back,
so
be in the real world for a minute, that's fine too.
So they're good at reading the room.
They're very good at reading the room.
Okay.
Like there are times when you can like kind of play in Star Warsy a little bit about real world issues, but they also know like when it's time to be real world. So they're very good about reading the room.
Did they have like standard hotel amenities like pools and spas and office space and all that sort of thing?
So no, they did not. And it's actually funny that you bring that up because one of the crew members jokingly asked the captain, "Hey, let's get a spa." And the captain is right on it. She's like, "Well, look, there are so many different races of aliens that come on this cruise, and so we would have to install countless different versions of spa amenities that it just wouldn't be possible. You can't just have it just for humans because there are other aliens that come on the cruise, so we can't do a spa.
We'd have to charge people $10,000 to come on this cruiser.
That's right.
A spa.
But no, there are like, so when you say hotel, like, no, there's no pool, there's no office room, there's no like fitness room like that, because it's not meant to be a hotel. It's a cruise. It's a space cruise. Just there's no pools in outer space.
There was no cutlery in medieval times, therefore there is no
except for you eat with your hands. That's right.
Yeah, except they have Pepsi there.
That's right. There was Pepsi in the Middle Ages. Yes.
Was there ever a time you mentioned you said you were fully immersed? Did you ever have a moment where the the immersion broke, that something just totally took you out of the moment?
That totally took me out of the moment. No. Were there was
Not even when
one.
you sorry, not even when you learned Chewbacca's real name.
Ah. See that
You have to tell
that
this story. This is a good story.
this is a good story. Okay, so again, part of what makes the experience unique is that you can just wander and happen into story elements, and you get roped into doing it. And that's what I know I say I love, but that was what was really special to me. Was like a couple times where we just happened to be in the right place at the right time, and we got to do something cool. So in this case, we were walking. I was going to the bathroom, and I turned the corner, and there's Chewbacca. Hey, Chewbacca, what's up? So the cruise director was like, "Hey, we need your help, and you're tall. So there are stormtroopers like right around the corner, and they're trying to find Chewbacca. We need you to walk in front of them and help hide him, so we can get him into the engineering room right there." And so I look at my wife, and I'm like, "Yeah, I mean, you can't say no to Chewbacca. You literally can't. It's fucking Chewbacca. It's freaking Chewbacca." So here is 6'2" tall Chewbacca squatting down right behind me with a hand on my shoulder just to make sure that he was still hidden. And I'm like just walking along like it's nobody's business, right, right into in the engineering room. So as we're walking into the engineering room, I hear the cruise director going, "Steven, Steven, Steven." So I'm like, "Yeah, what's up? Steven, yeah, that's me. Hey, what's up?" She's like, "Oh, your name is also Steven, isn't it?" I'm like, "Yeah." And it didn't dawn on me till like 10 or 15 minutes later. I think they gave Chewbacca a code name. And I think that code name was Steven. And I'm here going, "Man, this is really cool. She knows my name. I'm about to do something really cool." She was talking to Chewbacca, wasn't she?
Steve,
Yep.
Steve is a really good name for a Wookiee.
Right? Steve the Wookiee.
Steve the Wookiee.
So that was fun. That was fun.
Can you talk about some of the because obviously this is a span of 2 days and they have major story events. How do they fit, how much time, when it's not those major story events, they give you the time to go do what you want. So what did you choose to go do at that time? Did you follow a particular storyline? You said you played Sabak in the tournament that they have there.
So there were a lot of activities like
Mhm.
not storyline related that you could do.
Okay.
I played in the Sabak tournament. Um, what else did I do? Um, you have 2 or 3 like pre-booked activities that are like the highlight of the cruise, and if you don't do it, you're stupid, kind of things. One of them is bridge training, where you go onto the bridge of the ship and they teach you how to control the systems of the ship. Um, and it's basically like you're playing a gigantic video game. Have has anybody been to or seen pictures of the Space 220 restaurant in Epcot?
I was just watching a review of it. Yeah.
So y'all know that they've got those big, gigantic 40-foot screens that look out into space.
Yeah. Yeah.
So same technology, but you're playing a video game on it, and that was very, very cool. Um, so while you're doing the bridge training, a story element happens, and it changes based on what what time you go, what characters you're there with. Like one group was like my group had to shoot and blast through asteroids because we had to send a transmission somewhere to get to Chewbacca. So Chewbacca came and got on the ship.
Steven. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Another group had to go pick up Gaia from her ice spa so she could come and perform on the ship. So again, it changed based on like the time you were there. The other big one was the lightsaber training, where you got to hold a lightsaber, you got to like blaster bolts with the lightsaber.
Now, this is not like the fancy one that Ray uses in the show. This is
It's a toy. It's a very, very neat, very reactive toy, but it is not the one that retracts and goes up and down. This was the one element that I found the least believable, because you are literally just waving your lightsaber and putting it in the path of a light beam. And when you put it in the path of the light beam, you felt the saber shake as if you were blocking it. And the lightsaber, like the blade, like reacts as if you were blocking
so
something.
single player laser tag.
Kind of. But they incorporated multiple people by handing like the two people behind you a shield. And the shield reacted to the light beam as well. So if the idea is that if the person didn't block it with the lightsaber, you would block it with the shield in the back, and you would get points that way.
And it makes sense what you're saying, that you said it felt like the least believable. I'm going to take it from a different standpoint. Like everything else that you've talked about, let's like you're going on a Star Wars cruise. It's going to be about food. It's going to be about sabacc. It's going to be about, hey, you want to steer the ship, Skippy? That's possible. I don't foresee anything in all the Star Wars that we've watched as like, hey, we've got all these lightsabers. Let's play with them.
Correct.
You know what I mean? So that's the one. And I understand why they put it in, because kids like lightsabers and grown kids like lightsabers. But that's the one element that just doesn't seem to. It seems to be a square peg round hole.
They incorporated it into the story by creating this group called the Saja, and they are non-force sensitive people, but they follow the tenets and principles of the Jedi. Because we're in the First Order era now. This takes place in sequel trilogy, so the Jedi have been gone for a while.
Luke Skywalker's a myth, yeah.
And they've been gone for a while, but somehow, some way, this group of 3 to 6 people live on a cruise ship and have 4 to 8 toy lightsabers. The Sajas are all proficient in lightsaber use.
It's like why did they? It seemed to be easier to say, hey, look what we picked up at Savvy's workshop when we were visiting Batuu.
Sure.
So these are pretty cool.
But they needed to be there as a vehicle for Rey's plot.
Oh, okay.
They played a thematic role. They needed to be there if you followed Rey's plot, because eventually Rey comes on the ship. They bring back a lost Jedi artifact from Batuu, and they bring it back up on the ship, and that is her big reveal moment. If you follow her plot line, is they do the opening of this artifact. I'm trying to not do spoilers in case any of your watchers, listeners are going to go on the cruise. I don't want to spoil it.
No, those 5 people won't go. That's all right.
There's 5 people on the go. Oh wow, that's great.
No, hey, no,
No
a
way.
little self-deprecating
No.
humor. So
Yeah, like when you cut out earlier, we were talking about how like it's all booked up. There's no chance for anyone to even book right now. It's
Yeah,
just
it is.
yeah.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. Um, so uh, it's a two-part question. So the first question I know the answer to, and so you can just give a one-word answer. Then I'll go to my second question.
Would
So
I go again? Yes,
yeah, would you do it again?
absolutely.
Okay,
And
so
I'm gonna
now,
tell you why.
well, hold
I'm
on,
gonna tell
hold
you
on, hold
why.
on. Let me
Hold it.
ask my second question. It because not everybody has just a revolving bank account where it's like, all right, let's grab the amount, because you talked about how expensive this was, and it's like
It is.
so would it be something that it's like, I'm going to put my pennies away, so that I can do this again?
Honestly, yes.
Okay.
And honestly, if I didn't have the pennies to sock away, I would probably sell a kidney. That is how much I loved this experience.
So now tell us why. You said you were going to say why.
So let me tell you why I would do it again. There is so much to see. There is so much to do that this first time I feel like I didn't see or do a lot because I was so overwhelmed and I was never in the right place at the right time for a lot of it. But there are at least 5 or 6 different storylines. Each character has a unique storyline, and part of the fun is following that storyline and then interacting with other guests that are doing a different storyline. Um, so I followed the First Order storyline, and the first day wasn't really a lot to do. The First Order storyline really kicked off on the second day. And I got to install a subroutine to shut all of the ship systems down, and that was the plot device to get everybody into the atrium to see the big fight scene between Kylo and Rey. So that was actually really really cool. Honestly, the actors are what really make it, because we had a great Lieutenant Croy. Um, Also, I learned either yesterday or earlier today, the same Lieutenant Croy actor was a member of the Adventurers Club, the old at downtown Disney. Um,
Huh.
Adventurers Club, Explorers Club, the one that was in Pleasure Island, the one that had the Kungaloo string. Same guy. I'm like, oh, well, all right. Um, but he was great. He was absolutely great. He did not like droids, so when he saw my BD unit, like his head was poking out from over my shoulder, he did like a big visible shudder. I was like, "Ooh, you have a droid over your shoulder." I'm like, I sure do. I don't like droids. Don't like droids. Don't like droids. I'm like, okay, but he's really good at recording data. And he looks at me. He thinks for a second. He looks around and he finds a terminal, like a computer terminal, and he says, "All right, come with me." So I'm like, "All right." Grabbed my wife and we walked over. We followed him to the computer terminal. He reaches into his pocket, pulls out some kind of key, touches it to the data pad reader, and he said, "All right, tap your M bands right there." Okay, tap, tap. We'll be in touch. And he walks off to go do his thing. I look on my phone and oh hey look, I have first order credentials now. Hey, that's pretty cool. So it was those kind of moments that you interact with the crews, and then the second another time was like right after the first dinner show. The cruise director is good friends with the SK Astromech, like they're best friends. So after dinner is finishing up, she comes and finds me and says, "Hey, SK was asking for you and Ducky." She remembered my droid's name. I met her once, and she remembered that my droid's name was Ducky. Um, like SK was asking for Ducky specifically. He wants y'all to come meet us up in the atrium at like 7:15 at the fashion show, the red carpet fashion show. Come find us. Like, well, can't tell SK no. Let's go find out. And so we go up there, and he was asking for our help to help hide him because the First Order was looking for him too because they wanted to shut him down. So we came up with the idea, hey, we're gonna have a dance party. We're just gonna dance in front and body block SK, and we get him to the elevator, and we go and hide him in the cargo hold. So it was those kind of moments that really made it special.
So the argument, or I suppose the argument, that been made, that the repeatability was not there, that you wouldn't be able to get repeated business because it'd be the kind of the same thing. That's not true. That it would.
It's not, because there's so many different storylines.
But
So
I think I think what I'm hearing from you though is that you get out of it what you put into it. If you are just going to be that passive observer,
don't
then
bother.
probably not, right?
I mean, they will still, like, it's still a great experience, but you're not going to get the full Monty if you're just kind of watching from the sidelines. Like, they're the scoundrels, the people that were following the scoundrel lines, they got to go do a jewel heist during the middle of all of this. The people that followed the Jedi, they got to open a fucking freaking Jedi holocron. I got to shoot missiles at a First Order ship, and then shoot the missiles that they shot at us down.
So you were a turncoat, weren't you, with the First Order? But then you started shooting at the First Order. What? Come on, man.
So yeah. So let me tell you. Let me tell you why. Let me tell you what was up. So after we installed the subroutine, which was this fun, big, giant mini game where we had to have a clandestine meeting in the engineering room, but we also had to sign in to tell them that we were there. And we're like, well, this is the first clandestine secret meeting that I've ever had to sign a roster to get into. Whatever. So we do that, and then we go to the second bridge op. So by this time, this was on the second night, the crew of the Halcyon pretty much knew that the lieutenant was going to try to take over the ship. So they had to put crates to block transmission signals, because at this point the ship was under a First Order blockade right outside of Batu. And I was very upset that I missed that takeover show. We were in our cabin, like, taking a break, when all of a sudden we look out the window and, oh, hey, there's First Order TIE fighters swarming the window. And then we get a message, like an all-hands message on our data pad saying, oh, we're now under a First Order blockade. I'm like, oh, hate when that happens. I was just chilling in our room because we were just exhausted.
That was my I guess my final question. I'll throw it to Dave and Fred. Were you just absolutely spent after this?
Oh God, yes. Like we were there for 2 more days at Disney World after the hotel, or after the cruise, and I purposefully booked Animal Kingdom that Tuesday so we could check into the hotel room, take a nap, and then just have a late day at the park and recuperate. Oh, we were exhausted because it's nonstop, like go go go. You got stuff to do. You're engaging in stuff. Like, it was exhausting. But again, that's part of why I want to do it again, is that I want to take everything that I learned this go around and make the second go around even better. So there are main plot points that have to happen. Those are the same every single time. Like, there's always a ship muster. They go through everything. SK always gets caught and bolted at the end of the first day. There's always the confrontation between Kylo and Rey at the end of day 2. Like that, those always happen. But the characters have a lot of leeway to say, hey, we're going to do this today. Or, oh, I see you have this. Ooh, let's incorporate that into the storyline. There's a group on Reddit that talks about their experiences on the Starline. Somebody dressed up as the Canto Bight police officers and was showing a wanted poster for Jackson, the green bounty hunter rabbit. And the crew got in on it. They're like, "Oh, hey, this guy is looking for this bounty over here. Have y'all seen him?" Things like that. So they play with you. So it's not a hard fast. We're doing it this. No, they have a lot of freedom to improv and interact and really give a memorable story experience. It really is one of those things where you don't get the full impact unless you go. And I am so very thankful and happy that I had this opportunity to go, because it truly is just I've been saying, it's like a spiritual journey, and I have rarely felt that before going to a Disney park. So they really have something unique. They really have something so powerful, and I'm disappointed that it's closing because it's just that good.
I had one question, one last question. I'm wondering about just the spectacle, because Star Wars is not all about spectacle, but partly about spectacle. And you think about things like Smuggler's Run, for example, where it's just laser beams flying by you. You're piloting the Millennium Falcon. It's an adrenaline fueled, just thrill fest. Are there moments like that with the Rey and Kylo confrontation? Was it like that? Were there other moments where you're encountering laser fire, etc.? Are there things about it that just sort of not only immerse you in this world, but also just sort of thrill you?
So that would be bridge training. You get 2 sessions. We got lucky and got snuck into a third. It's bridge training on the first day where you learn to operate the ships, and then that comes in handy on the second day because then you start doing shooting down TIE fighters or moving crates out of the way or putting crates in the way to block signals getting out of the ship. So with the First Order, which is what I was saying earlier, how in the end we started having to shoot the missiles at the First Order ship, the session before us had laid out these crates to block outgoing transmissions to other ships. Well, the First Order lieutenant was trying to send a message to the First Order Star Destroyer to say, hey, I've got it, but we couldn't, and the only way to get through there was to start firing the ship's lasers at the crates. So the First Order saw the ship firing lasers and took that as a sign of aggression, so they started shooting missiles at us. So we had to shoot the missiles down so that they wouldn't blow up the ship. And so that message to the First Order from Lieutenant Croy was how we got Kylo Ren on board. So each session advanced the story somehow. And that was one negative, was that I was getting bits of the story and I was getting parts of the story. I wasn't getting the whole story. So at dinner on the first night, I looked up and, oh, there's Chewbacca. How the heck did he get here? How did Chewbacca get here? We have no idea. He just showed up. So that was one complaint, was that you get kind of blocks of the story. And if you're not fully engaged in every single storyline, you kind of miss bits and pieces of it.
But it's kind of genius. It's what sucks you into. I've got to save enough money so I can catch that part that I missed.
Like I saw somebody post like they've been 3 times, and I'm like, I wish I had that kind of money, but I absolutely would do it again. It was just absolutely incredible.
I guess one last thing for me, I'm interested. There's the excursion that happens from the Star Cruiser to Batu. Did you find that you were just dying to get back on the ship? You're like, no, I don't need to go down there, or was it a good break from all the story and excitement to just go wander
So
around?
that is actually a great question. The short answer was, yeah, we kind of wanted to hurry up and do everything on Batu and then get back on the Star Cruiser because our mindset was we can come to Batu whenever we want. We're only in space on the Star Cruiser once. So the way that it happens
But
is that they,
mom and dad need a nap up on the Star Cruisers.
yeah, right. So they have, it's like it's a special bus, and no one has seen the outside of the bus. It's like a closely guarded secret because no one knows what the outside of the bus actually looks like.
It has
Um,
Goofy and Donald and everything on.
Probably so, but we will never know because it's a closely guarded secret. We'll never know. Um, so you are given missions on your data pad that gets you to go interact with everything in the land. And that when you do those, it furthers the plot up in space. Um, you are given a meal credit for lunch, and you can use it at Docking Bay 7 or at Ronto Roasters. And you're given 2 priority fast passes to Smuggler's Run and Rise of the Resistance. Use them whenever. Don't care. Um, you also get a special coaster from Oga's Cantina. If you've seen the purple ones with a QR code on the back of them, that's what that's from. And then that plays a part of one of your missions as well. We ended up like not using that food credit. We said, look, we can come back and eat this whenever we want. Let's go eat some more space food. And that's just a testament to how good this food is. It was great. Also, come to find out, 2 weeks after, we could have asked for to-go boxes. They had these delicious Scotch eggs that I could have asked for a box, and they would have gave it to me. And I'm like, well, again, I wish I had known. They also had these waffles that held. They were conical and it had the logo on it, and they scienced this out, y'all, where their cup of syrup filled the waffle exactly and perfectly with syrup. I'm still talking about this waffle and the perfect amount of syrup in this waffle, and it's been almost 2 months.
Wow.
What were we talking about? Wanting to hurry up and get back on the ship. Yeah. So again, we did the droid building. We did the Batu experience. But we wanted to just hurry up, do the missions on the data pad, do our fast passes, and get back on the ship. Partly because that's the Sabak tournament that I wanted to play in was like pretty close to the time of our Droid Depot reservation. So we wanted to hurry up, do that, do our rides, and get back up. The transport bus does not have any windows. It is completely themed to a transport shuttle. I got dizzy. I never get dizzy, but I got dizzy on that. I don't know why. I don't know. I don't know why I got dizzy on it. But just the level of detail that they put into even the shuttle bus just really goes into it. In fact, this is my last little tangent. When I went to the men's room, in the stall, when you close the door and lock it, there is a placard on the inside of the stall door, and it's written in Arabic. And you can translate it on your phone, And when it's translated in English, it says, "In case of turbulence, remain seated." I'm like, this is great. I'm sitting on the toilet, and in case of turbulence, you want me to remain seated. This is great.
Yeah, and then you think about what they did at Batu in Galaxy's Edge now on the Dyson hand dryers. They had to actually write hand dryer because people didn't know what they were. Uh, so, final question first, and just thank you for telling us the story. Like I said, it's when you told it to me, I was like I said, I know that my thoughts and everything were based out of ignorance and just supposition and everything like that. And it sounds like it was incredible. I don't think it's for everybody still, um, but now here's my question to you, because it is closing. What do you think? What do you think Disney's going to do with all the stuff?
See,
Not just the brick and mortar, but the performances, the food, the cast members.
so I'm gonna answer this in two parts. The first part is, I've been up here saying, praising this Star Cruiser to the high holy heavens. There were a few things that were less than stellar, namely being the check-in, second being the price, um, and honestly, it's just those two. Like, honestly, and three, they did not market this. They did not market it well. Because they had a gift card, Shangela Starline exclusive gift card. I went to use it at Animal Kingdom, and the lady checking out was like, "What is this?" I'm like, "It's a gift card. It works." And they had no idea. So there's several reasons that this thing is shuttering. Um, I I want to. I mean, I want to believe. I know that they have learned lessons from this. Disney, in their infinite business wisdom, Imagineering wisdom, I promise you, we are going to see technology that started or was developed for this experience, and it's going to be evolved and improved on. Um, I hope to see more autonomous droids roaming around Galaxy's Edge. I hope that they take lessons from this, from the immersion aspect of it. Um, I read some kind of speculative report that they were renting some kind of equipment that was used in the experience, and they were expected to buy it after a certain time, and that also led into them wanting to close it. Um, Again, I don't know. Um, it's probably gonna the property is probably gonna sit abandoned for at least a year. But if they were smart, they would turn that into a some sort of dining experience. It's a premium dining experience, like the Royal Table in Cinderella's Castle. They have all of the infrastructure there to do a show, to do the lighting, to do the food. Everything is there. They have the themed shuttle bus. Everything is there. So if it were up to me, I would turn that into some kind of dining experience where you board a shuttle from Batu, and you get on the bus, and it drives you over to the Star Cruiser, or whatever the hell they want to call it, and then you get a show with Gaia. You get a dinner show with Gaia, or some other um, intergalactic space
Even the Sabak tournament.
performer. Uh, the Sabak tournament, I think you could do on Planet.
We
But
made the medieval times joke earlier, but Fredo and I are shrugging over here. You can't see it, but it's like, yeah, at medieval times, there's an audience for that. Um, I dinner and a show. Like there might be an opportunity for them to recoup some cost in that, and that I I might sign up for that, personally speaking. Like I'm not the
Right.
audience for,
Well,
$5,000 or whatever, but I might be the audience for an evening, that cost me a couple hundred.
right. That's what I was just going to
Right.
say. They have those experiences throughout Disney World where it's the special tours, backstage stuff, or just the special magical experiences, if you will. And I would pay that as well to go eat space food and watch a show and
Right. I mean, like a $150 to $200 ask is a lot nicer than a $5,000 ask.
yeah.
Um, but again, it's there. I mean, and if you think back to what we were originally promised when Batu was built, we were promised a lot more. And I think a lot of those promises came through in the form of the Star Cruiser. Because we were promised a third ride. We had concepts for third rides. We had concepts for a dinner show. Um, we had promises of the reputation, the faction uh, part of the mobile game on the data pad was supposed to play more of an experience in the land. So I think we got a lot of that. A lot of that culminated on the Star Cruiser.
You talk about the autonomous droids going around Batu. That's the thing I thought was missing from Galaxy's Edge when I went,
Yeah,
was not just the droids, but just I want to see Rhodians. I want to see,
aliens,
Twi'leks. I want to see, not just,
humans.
white suburbanites walking around. It's
Mm-hmm.
so I
I've
think
said that too. I want to see aliens. Like, there's more than one race in Star Wars.
and
Like, there are aliens in Star Wars.
and the Kylo Ren Rey fight could be staged in Batu as well. Um,
Which that was also really neat because they incorporated like blaster fire and like sparklers. So like when the stormtroopers fired their blasters, like sparks came out of the railings where it hit. And when Rey and Kylo dragged their lightsabers across the railing, sparks were flying from where they were dragging it across. And that was really neat. So like the showmanship is there. Like Disney knows how to put on a show. I, they just really mismanaged this one. They didn't market it right, and it's a shame because it is really really cool.
oh my gosh, Stephen, thank you so much for joining us tonight and just walking us through this. And
Well, it was a pleasure. I like to listen to myself talk, so any opportunity to do so. No, really, I appreciate y'all having me on here and letting me gab for however long it's been, and I appreciate y'all letting me ramble.
oh,
This is something that I just had a spiritual movement with, and again, I'm very thankful to my wife for letting me do this. Um, and again, I'm very grateful and appreciative that I had this opportunity to do it, and I'm thankful for y'all for letting me talk about it.
no, our pleasure. Like I said, I mean, I've been ranting about what I think, and it's nice to hear what it actually is, and not from a Disney marketing person or an influencer, but a friend who actually went and here's the straight scoop. So that was
So
cool.
I will leave you with one last fun little story. For plausible deniability, I may or may not have a special souvenir that I managed to acquire from uh, from the Star Cruiser. I may
Liberated,
have
liberated.
acquired, found, smuggled. I may or may not have a space spoon. I may or may not have liberated a spoon from the dining room. Plausible deniability. It's a weird spoon. That's why I kept it. It's like slanty and angular, and it has a point. I love this thing. I call it my space spoon. And if I was brave enough, I would have taken more. But sorry, I'm rambling. Long story short is I have a space spoon.
No, my roommates in college worked at the country club, and they came home every night with a new place setting. So I know how it goes.
I mean, look, they're not gonna need it in like a month. When I took it, may or may not have taken it, like they weren't gonna need it in like 3 months. So what the hell, it's spoon.
You said you got your
What are they gonna do with
master's.
it?
You do realize that space spoon could probably fund your doctorate if you wanted to. If you wait about another year.
That and the generous employee discount provided by the Louisiana school system.
There you go.
We'll
Buy
give you
low,
a semester.
sell high.
Oh no, friend, this was a buy high, sell higher.
Well, Stephen, again, thank you very much. Appreciate you coming on, telling us everything. You're welcome back anytime. Obviously Ahsoka's coming up, so we're going to be rambling about that pretty soon. So
I'm looking forward to it because I love Rebels. It's my favorite animated Star Wars thing. So I am so excited to see how this story continues with Ahsoka. I am beyond excited.
cool. Right on. Well, with that, we will say who dat,
Who dat?
and everybody have a great week.
McConkey.